I'm well aware that there has been uncertainty about how we intend to reform the Armed Forces pension. We had a very good result for the Armed Forces at the beginning of the year when the government guaranteed to preserve the rights that you're currently earning in your existing pension. The government also provided additional transitional protection for those within 10 years of their normal pension age. Well, since then, the MOD team responsible for the new scheme has conducted a major consultation with you, the service population. And my thanks to all of you who took the opportunity to complete the survey, attend a presentation or focus group, or submit your own views and comments. We've listened carefully to what you said and used the results to inform the development of the new scheme. The MOD team has produced a short video which I urge you to watch. It goes through the main features of the new scheme and how the initial consultation has shaped its creation. There are 2 points about the design of the new scheme that I want to highlight to you. Firstly, this will remain the only public service pension that does not require its members to pay personal contributions. And secondly, we've retained the early departure payment, and reflecting the concerns expressed by you during the initial consultation, the qualification threshold has only moved by 2 years. Now, I'll be perfectly honest with you. Whilst there are certainly elements of the design of the new pension which are better than before, the new scheme is not going to be as valuable overall as your existing pension schemes. However, I believe it will still be the best pension available in the public or private sectors, one that I and the service chiefs believe will continue to ensure we recruit and retain the quality people needed to deliver the highly professional armed forces our nation requires.
Hello, I'm Group Captain Ian Pollitt and I lead the Future Armed Forces Pensions team. With Commander Steve Young and Lieutenant Colonel Terry Robson, we're going to talk you through the outlined design of the new Armed Forces Pension Scheme that is planned for introduction in April 2015. You may remember that we also led the initial consultation that visited many of your units in the first half of 2012. The initial consultation is now complete, and we will refer to the results of that initial phase as we describe the new scheme. Now, pension design is a pretty dry subject with some complex terms, but it is important and affects every one of you. During the initial consultation, we visited 52 service locations, including Afghanistan, the Falklands, Germany, Northern Ireland and Gibraltar. We gave 69 presentations to around 9,000 personnel, and we listened to the views of over 2,000 personnel during 154 focus groups. We ran a survey which received just under 18,000 responses. If you took part in the initial consultation, then thank you very much for your valuable input. We have listened to you. MOD published the outline scheme design at the end of July 2012. There is an opportunity to comment on the outline scheme design, but as we stated in initial consultation, certain key elements of the design are fixed and will be reflected in the final scheme. But be assured that your comments will be considered. During the initial consultation, we talked about why our pension has to change, and the report from the Independent Public Services Pensions Commission, known as the Hutton Report. We also talked about accrued rights, that is your rights to pension benefits that you will have earned up until the point of transition to the new scheme. We stressed that the Armed Forces Pension Scheme 05 has been used as the start point for the development of the new pension, and we covered in some detail those design characteristics of the new scheme that the Ministry of Defence and you could influence. If you want to look at some of the things that were discussed in the initial consultation, then you could start by looking at the initial consultation document, which is available online at the Ministry of Defence website. Let's move on to the basic design of the new scheme.
Currently, there are several different Armed Forces pension schemes. For example, Armed Forces Pension Scheme 75, 05, and the Reserve Forces Pension Scheme. The new scheme will replace all of these and will be a single scheme that covers all of you. Your current Armed Forces Pension Scheme is a defined benefit scheme, and importantly, it will stay a defined benefit scheme. This means that you will know the actual pension benefits you will receive underwritten by the government, while most private sector pensions are defined contribution schemes, where the member knows how much they have paid in, but won't know what their pension will be because it will be subject to investment returns and is therefore uncertain. Your current pension is a final salary scheme, but the new scheme, in common with all other public service pensions, will be a career average scheme. This means that your pension will be based on the salary that you have earned throughout your service career, rather than your final salary when you leave the armed forces. The government accepted Lord Hutton's recommendation that this was a fairer method of assessing pension benefits. A career average scheme, known as a care scheme, means that for each year of service, a proportion of your pensionable pay is put aside into a notional pension pot. It is important to remember that this money is not taken from your salary. It is money paid into your future pension by the MOD. You do not have to make a contribution into your current pension. It is entirely funded by the government, and that will continue into the new scheme. This will be the only public service pension scheme that does not require its members to pay towards the cost of the scheme. Now, there has been a lot of speculation about whether we would be required to pay contributions in the future. The design life of this pension is 25 years, and many changes could occur between now and 2040. What we can say for certain is that there will be no personal contributions when the new scheme is introduced. There are no plans for contributions to be introduced at any point, and finally, that the government does not foresee any reason to make any major changes to any public service pension schemes until 2040. The proportion of your salary that is put into your pension pot is known as the accrual rate. Most of our current schemes have an accrual rate of 1/70th, but in the new scheme, the accrual rate will be 1/47th, which is better. MOD has examined all the possible alternatives and decided that 1/47th represents the fairest accrual rate for all service personnel. This means that for each year of your service, an amount equating to 1/47th of your salary will be paid by MOD into your own notional pension pot. In common with AFPS 05, you will begin to accrue these pension benefits from your first day of paid service. For those of us who transfer into the new scheme in 2015, your new pension will start to accrue at 1/47th of your salary at the point of transfer, not your salary when you first joined the armed forces. Most of the current armed forces pension schemes have a normal pension age of 55, and many of the key pension dates are fixed around this age. There are exceptions. The Reserve Forces Pension Scheme, the Full-Time Reserve Service 97 and the non-regular permanent staff schemes have a normal pension age of 60. The new Armed Forces Pension Scheme will have a normal pension age of 60. We have worked closely with the new employment model team, which is undertaking a separate study within MOD into the future terms and conditions of service. The three services will review their own career structures to take into account the move of the normal pension age from 55 to 60, and other changes to pensions that we will discuss shortly. Now, clearly, if you have a long career, then the value of that pension pot would be eroded by inflation. This doesn't affect your current schemes because they are based on your final salary, but it would affect the new scheme. So, to ensure that it retains its value, your pension pot will rise each year by a percentage, which is based on the average earnings throughout the UK. Historically, average earnings have risen faster than inflation, and we therefore consider average earnings to be the best method of ensuring over the long term that pensions keep their value. The current schemes pay an automatic lump sum when you reach either state pension age or, if you serve through to that point, at the normal pension age. This will no longer be the case. However, you will still have an opportunity to give up or commute part of your pension in order to generate a lump sum, but the decision on whether to do so will be up to you. And that does not affect the separate lump sum paid with the early departure payment. I mentioned that you do not make any compulsory personal contribution to your pension, but a few of you already make additional voluntary contributions, or AVCs, in order to increase your own pension benefits. During the initial consultation, many of you said that you wanted the opportunity to make voluntary contributions. So you will have the ability to do so in the new scheme, and we will explore ways of making this easier. Once your pension is in payment, to keep pace with inflation, it will be increased by the Consumer Prices Index, or CPI, in the same way that the current schemes do.
It was clear to us during the initial consultation that the key issues were the qualification point for an immediate payment and thereafter what the payment would look like under the new scheme. So let's now have a look at the early departure payment. As we know, AFPS 05 already has an early departure payment and AFPS 75 has something similar, which is known as the immediate pension point. In AFPS 05, those service personnel who serve more than 18 years and reach age 40 are entitled to a payment consisting of a regular monthly income and a tax-free lump sum. This payment is an incentive to pull them through to that point, and it is also an element of compensation for not allowing all service personnel a full career, because the armed forces needs a predominantly young workforce. The current EDP threshold of 18 years service and age 40 is unaffordable in the long term, so we needed to move it further to the right. Nationally, the whole UK population is living longer and is expected to work longer. We know that people in general are getting married later, starting families later and buying houses later. Medical evidence suggests that service personnel can retain their physical and mental fitness later in life and still remain deployable. Personnel are also joining the armed forces later, so it is therefore reasonable to make the threshold to receive an early departure payment a little later. During the initial consultation, we asked you how willing you were to move the early departure payment, with a right of arc being 43 years of service and age 45. This slide shows the results of that survey. 59% of those who responded told us that they would be willing to serve through to the 20 years of service and age 42 in order to earn an EDP. As this threshold moves to the right, then the percentage of people willing to serve that long reduces, with only 32% being willing to serve through for an extra 5 years, to 23 years of service and to age 45. During the focus groups in particular, you told us that you were very concerned about starting a second career after you left the services and that the changes should be as small as possible. The services have discussed this issue and the service chiefs have decided that the new threshold for the early departure payment will be 20 years of service and age 40. The required length of service has increased by 2 years, but we have kept the age qualification the same at age 40. If you are currently serving, the pensionable service that you are earning under the current scheme will count towards this 20-year threshold. To be absolutely clear, if you are currently on AFPS 05, you need to serve 18 years to qualify for your AFPS 05 accrued rights, and a further 2 years, a total of 20, to qualify for the EDP under the new pension, in both cases having reached the age of at least 40.
We have already established that your pension will depend on how long you serve. Now don't forget, this film is about the new pension, and you already have accrued rights to the pension benefits for your service to date, up until the point of transition. There are three potential scenarios, which are based on the amount of pensionable service that you have when you leave the armed forces. Of course, don't forget your current service prior to 2015 will also count towards this total. Firstly, if you don't serve long enough to reach the new early departure payment point, you will receive a deferred pension. If you serve up to or beyond the new early departure payment point, you will be entitled to an early departure payment. Or finally, if you serve beyond the new early departure payment point all the way up to the new normal pension age, which, to remind you, will be 60, you will be entitled to receive a full career pension. Here is the first scenario. If you don't serve through to the new early departure payment point, I remind you it's 20 years of service and age 40, then when you leave the armed forces you will not receive an early departure payment or any pension benefits initially. And this is the same as under the current scheme, Armed Forces Pension Scheme 05. Your pension will be deferred. Under the previous schemes, the term preserved has been used, but this will now be called a deferred pension. Although your pension will be deferred, it will be increased each year in line with the Consumer Prices Index to ensure that it maintains its relative value until you come to draw it. You will be able to draw your deferred pension when you reach state pension age. The state pension age is set by the government. Currently, it is at age 65, but it is changing. The government has decided to change the state pension age to 66 by 2020, 67 by 2028 and 68 by 2046. Working out your exact state pension age is a little complicated, but you can find more details at the DirectGov website if you Google State Pension Age Forecast. Don't forget, this is the age at which you will be able to draw your deferred Armed Forces pension.
The second scenario covers those of you who will serve to the early departure payment point. If you serve for 20 years and reach age 40, then you will still get your deferred pension, but in addition you will qualify for an early departure payment or EDP. Just as for AFPS 05, the EDP will normally be paid in two ways. First is an income, which will be paid monthly like your salary. The amount of income you receive each year will be the equivalent of 34% of your deferred pension and will be subject to tax. Your income will be straight-lined until you reach age 55. It will then be increased by the cumulative effect of the Consumer Prices Index or CPI increases that will have occurred between the time you left the armed forces and age 55. It will then be adjusted by the CPI every year beyond that point. Secondly, you'll receive a tax-free lump sum at the point at which you leave the armed forces, which will be the equivalent of 2.25 times your deferred pension. As you already know, AFPS 05 delivers a lump sum of 3 times a preserved pension. However, with a better accrual rate of the new pension, the new lump sum delivers a similar effect. Both AFPS 05 and the new scheme will deliver a tax-free lump sum of around 25% of the overall EDP benefits, which is a maximum allowable under current tax legislation. You'll receive your EDP until you reach the state pension age, when it will be replaced by your deferred pension. If you serve beyond your EDP point, you'll receive a larger EDP income. Your EDP income will be increased by 0.85 percentage points for every year of service beyond your EDP point. So, for example, if you serve 10 years beyond your EDP point, your EDP income will consist of the 34% default income, plus a further 8.5%, making it 42.5% of your deferred pension. What I've just described is the default position for the EDP, which is broadly similar to AFPS 05 scheme design and will happen automatically. The results from the survey that we undertook during the initial consultation have shown us that around half the respondents favoured this combination of both regular income and lump sum. But during that initial consultation, focus groups in particular told us that they wanted to have some degree of choice in how to take their EDP. After all, it's very difficult for you to forecast what your financial position will be in the future. So we will carry out further work to investigate potential greater flexibility in how you could take your early departure payment. The results of that further work will be made known when we publish the full scheme design in September this year.
If you're one of the few who go on to serve a full career in the armed forces, all the way through to the normal pension age of 60, then when you leave the armed forces, you will be paid your pension immediately. If you wish to, you could retire earlier, from age 55, with your pension, but it would be reduced to reflect the fact that it will be paid for longer. Don't forget that there is no longer an automatic lump sum at this point, but you will have the choice to commute part of your pension to generate a lump sum if you wish to.
We hope that you have found this film helpful. We've tried to summarise the main points of the new Armed Forces Pension Scheme, but we appreciate that this is a complex subject and more information is available in the outline scheme design document, which we will be distributing through your chain of command and have made available online. Please remember that your accrued rights to the pension benefits you have already earned are protected. I know that what you really want to know is what this means for you and what pension benefits you will accrue under this new scheme. There are some examples in the outline scheme design document, but pensions are very complex, and until all the fine detail in the scheme is confirmed, then it will not be possible to answer all your questions. A new calculator is being developed and should be online from spring 2013. This will give you a forecast, but until then, I have to ask you to be patient. In summary, we have to ensure that pensions are affordable, sustainable and fair, both for existing service personnel and future generations, as well as for taxpayers who ultimately meet the costs. We have listened to your views during the initial consultation and we have incorporated them into the design of the new scheme where we could. We have retained the early departure payment. No other public service makes any payment that early. There are no plans to introduce personal pension contributions for your new pension scheme. Every other public service pension scheme requires personal contributions. This is a long-term project. It will not be introduced until 2015 and the full effects won't be felt by the services until 2035. The First Sea Lord, Chief of the General Staff and the Chief of the Air Staff recognise that terms of service will need to be aligned with the new early departure payment point and the new normal pension age, and work has begun on this. Finally, the new pension scheme may be less valuable than your current scheme, but it will remain a very good scheme and will be one of the best available anywhere in the public or private sector. If you wish to make any comments on the outline scheme design, then you can do so via the Defence Consultations website, which you can find by Googling Defence Consultations. Thank you for listening.